Okay, good morning. Again, welcome to this morning's service. This is supposed to be the last service of Dharma School, but there have been, of course, no in-person meeting here, although Mr. Moss continues to offer his high school class online, and there are other teachers who continue to keep in contact with their students, providing some exercises and things to do. But today is the last day of our Dharma School service and Dharma School classes. We'd like to begin this morning's service with a reading of Sambujo, followed by the reading of Juseige. So if you would please join us in Sambujo and Juseige. Namanda,
Namandouts,
namanda,
namandouts,
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 namanda,
namandouts,
namanda.
namandouts, namandouts.
小平安，随不着生啊，西就不走呢，渺小着结邦，可巧米小门，随不着生啊，你有个金少年，就爱是朋友，心我们着呢，一小天人心，今日起言来过，和什么才能说着三颗苗，可三十呀困难，开一起年，没习过么安，黑松小困难，这大自然什么？可所就满足，一有了结果，你亲爱此时这期，天空不言，一时开火所。可谁困的苦红，就来是这，什么是心我，可要一塞不，我送是痛苦红。俺内是自救满，托苦一生爱我，要不怎么给起，做他怎么不想，俺不爱你。他是三小son，心安呀国家，乃神那看那，我可说天宁，我 If you would please join now in the reading of the three treasures. Hard is it to be born into human life. Now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One. Now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of your way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves our supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of thy doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in your life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. Let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Again, good morning. Thank you for joining us for this morning's service. Again, it is our last Dharma School service. Hopefully, there are at least some Dharma School students who have been joining us for these services. That we're grateful for our parents and teachers who are able to support our program here, who have, in this very difficult time, continue to provide the support that hopefully will provide a religious education for our students here at the Bitsing. It has been difficult, and I know for me, as I try to go through all of the things that we are normally responsible for, that we try to take care of, I have been unable to keep track of all of the things and keep all of the things in order that need to be taken care of. Fortunately, there are staff members here at the Bitsing, and of course, Mikami Sensei, and all of the people who work together to make this, the work of the Bitsing, possible. We are in a very, I don't know if difficult or trying time really describes what we're going through. I think it's a time of deep learning, hopefully. A time in which we not only are concerned with our well-being and how our behavior affects the world around us, but to discover how important those relationships are. When we began the shelter-in-place protocols, we struggled with thinking about using masks, how we would be able to supply, how we would be able to provide masks for ourselves and for others. But we also struggled with whether or not we should be wearing masks, that we, in some places, feel that it's not necessary to wear masks, and there are those who would speak against the use of masks. When we think about masks, facial coverings, if we think about only ourselves, then we are not expressing or demonstrating our concern for others. If we think only of ourselves, then perhaps a facial covering may not be necessary. We only think about our health, our relationship with the world. But in that understanding of our relationship with the world, if we are mindful of others who share this world with us, understanding that as a person in this world, whether I am aware of the coronavirus is a part of me, whether I'm aware of whether or not I have been infected by the coronavirus, that I wear a mask prevents the transmission of that possibility of that virus being transmitted to others. The act of wearing a mask is an expression really of concern for the welfare of others. It's not just about me, how I look, or whether it is uncomfortable to wear a mask. And wearing a mask for some people is a real challenge because of the challenges, the difficulties that result from wearing a mask, physical difficulties, difficulty to breathe. I've read reports on the pores in the skin of some people are unable to breathe because of the mask and therefore result in more acne or the skin breaking out because of that. Chafing behind the ears and along the edges of the mask. It's not comfortable. It's not, everyone is not able to wear the mask in the same way. And for some, wearing that mask is more challenging than others. For some, it's become a way of self-expression, what we look like wearing a mask, the patterns that we've placed on a mask. On our website now, there is a announcement of our Obon at Home, that this year we will be celebrating our Obon festival at home, and Mas Nishimura is the coordinator of all of the activities that are being planned. And at the center of this Obon at Home is a mask with the @ sign on it. The mask is becoming something of a fashion statement. But underlying all of these expressions of the mask is this willingness to be concerned about others, that the transmission of the virus can be reduced through this act of wearing facial covering. It certainly protects ourselves as well, but it expresses this awareness of how what I do, my behavior, affects the lives of others. In the past few weeks, we have had uprisings really around the world, beginning with the death of George Floyd. That is the culmination really of, and I'm still working with this, trying to not so much understand, but to be able to express, to take in how important this matter is and how deeply lives have been affected as a result of the racism that has been a part of our country. And George Floyd's life is an expression that has broken the comfort of our views of the world. And I still struggle with the language that thoroughly and adequately conveys the importance of what we are going through today. But I think if we can truly work together to acknowledge that we have had racism as a part of our country for a very long time. And I know we learn about this. And that's part of the problem that I work with in my own understanding. I have, like most of you, have studied racism in America, learned about things like, and I was thinking about this morning coming in about manifest destiny, how there was within the settling of this country or the taking of this country a kind of a feeling that this was a right that people had to discard or not to be concerned with who already lived here, whose lives would be upended as a result of this idea that the lives of Black people have been a part of this, that they have, as a people, experienced the tremendous negating of their lives, and that our country, our society, really began with that and continues to negate the lives of Black people who have been oppressed and pushed down in our society. And I think it's important for us to be able to articulate that, to say that, so that we commit to making changes that will allow Black lives to be affirmed, to support and provide the place in which we can talk openly about the lives that have for so long been oppressed and not just marginalized, but the brutality. And again, when we look to history, we know of these events in our history. We know of the slavery, the slave traders who brought slavery to Americas. We know of the Civil War that fought to overturn slavery, and yet we know also of the failure of Reconstruction and how the efforts to change substantively slavery in our country was cut short. We know of Emmett Till, how his mother intentionally wanted his casket open at his funeral, so those who came would see how his body had been brutalized, his face crushed. We know of the civil rights movement. We know of all of these things that have been a part of our history. But I know in my understanding of this needs to be a change. It's not just these historical accounts of what has happened in our country. It's not just about acknowledging these atrocities that have taken place in our history, or even a matter of owning responsibility, a shared responsibility in this, but to be able to truly recognize the need to change, to bring into our conversation the need to examine our own prejudices, how we too have contributed to that. We need to stand with those who stand in our streets, hopefully changing the way that we see one another and change the way that we treat one another. That we can hopefully see a time when the history that we are a part of will continue to take us to a place where we appreciate the lives of those who have contributed, who have helped build this country, who have borne the burden of the labors that have made this country what it is. That conversation will continue, that it includes not a top-down discussion of what needs to be done, but inclusive conversation that will hopefully open us up to a future that will value the lives of those who have been oppressed for such a long time. There is hope in, I think, the young people who go out into the streets and who not only protest, not only express their willingness to make a difference, to change the way that we have built our society. But there's hope in the willingness to work together, to be inclusive, to listen to others. In Jodo Shinshu, Monpo is to listen, to hear. Buddhism begins with the understanding that we have our own prejudices from which we see the world, and that we need to begin to correct that in order to truly resolve the difficulties that we cause and experience. I think there is hope. It's a ways off, but there is hope that we may be able to change the way that we have caused great difficulties on the lives of the people in our community who share our history, but who have been pushed aside, oppressed, who have borne the burden of much of what we enjoy. Again, Jodo Shinshu, a part of Jodo Shinshu, an important part, is to hear, is to listen. And in Buddhism, to hear and to listen is to begin to examine our own prejudices, the way that we see the world, and begin to move toward a deepened appreciation of what we share with all life. Again, this is the last Dharma school service. We have experienced many changes in the past, now 3 months. When it all began in mid-March, it seemed like, oh, okay, in a couple of months maybe, but it is 3 months, and it looks like it's going to be with us for a long time. How we adjust to the changes that are taking place around us. We need to make those adjustments. We need to be sure that we act in a way that expresses our concern for one another. We continue to stay at home, be safe, but in the meantime, connect with one another as best as we can through whatever technology we might feel at ease with, whether through our Zoom meetings or our Google Meets or picking up the phone or talking to your neighbor, that we continue to connect with the world around us, to stay connected, to stay involved, to help one another in these very difficult, unusual, hopeful times. Thank you very much for your presence here this morning. Next week is, what is next week? I think next week is a regular Sunday service. I thought today was Father's Day. Yesterday, but apparently, and then I kept thinking, we have these meetings scheduled for today, and I was like, oh man, how come we're having meetings on Father's Day? But this is how my mind, I think, is slowly deteriorating. I shouldn't say slowly, rather quickly deteriorating, losing track of things. There is a beautiful chalk artwork that is on the sidewalk just beyond our garden area. Usually where the Open Door Cafe in that area, there is a beautiful chalk artwork on the sidewalk that was arranged by Mikame Sensei and the artists, along with Mikame Sensei, Chisa, who has been a part of our Bitsun community for a long time now. The three of them worked on this beautiful artwork. The primary artist is Momo, and I still don't know what her last name is, but she's known as Momo, and I hope one day you get to see that. We'll certainly put it up on our website. Beautifully done, coordinated by Mikame Sensei, bringing the artist as well as someone, Mike, to record this in time-lapse, and Steve Onishi, who coordinated this effort. But hopefully one day you'll get to see that in person. Again, next week is, I think, a regular service. But please join us at 10 o'clock. Again, thank you very much, everyone. If you please join in Gassho and Nembutsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.